Family is Providence. Thanks for tuning in. And Young Thug dropped his album. Social media has been talking about it, listening to it, giving their opinions. As usual, I did listen to the album. I only listened to it one time through, so I'm not going to give it a full review just yet. I have to be honest, first time through, wasn't too impressed. Couple songs I did like, but ultimately I can't say I've ever really been the biggest Thug fan. So I really don't know how to judge music from people that I've never really been a fan of. I think that people who actually like an artist should be the ones to actually judge the music. If for instance, you don't like Playboi Carti, you've never liked Playboi Carti, if you hop into a Playboi Carti album, you're probably not going to like it. That's just how I think. But that's neither here nor there. Young Thug dropped his project, and I really wanted to talk about the album cover and what he's been doing with the pictures of the features that are on this album. Thug, the album cover, it's him as a white man. He's also posted white photos of all the features for the album. So you had Ken Carson, Lil Baby, Travis Scott, Quavo, Future, 21 Savage, all posted as white people. You did Cardi B as well. And I thought that was very interesting. And I'm not the one to go into deep think pieces or woke sort of, innuendo or try to look super deep into things when I see it. But I did think that this was very interesting. What is Young Thug trying to communicate with him reinventing himself as a white man? Now you might say, look, don't look too deep into it. Young Thug has been prone to provocative ways of sort of promoting an album, his music before. We all know Young Thug in a dress. And so maybe this is just more promotion, right? Just trying to be provocative. And I do think that that's certainly a part of it. He's dropping an album. He wants people to talk about it. You have to kind of put something interesting in it. Can't just be all about Gunna being a snitch. So he had to try to add something to it to get people talking about the album. And first track in, Ninja, he's dropping the hard ER, and that in and of itself has a lot of people talking about the album. To be honest with you, I'm looking at this, and again, not trying to over psychologize it, but I'm not buying what he's saying about why he did what he did. He posted the album cover and he said, if you want to be the biggest, go white. And that seemed like, okay, that's a weird statement, but is it even a true statement? Like, if you want to be the biggest, go white. Like, I understand this idea that white people tend to have privilege in this country, so it's easier for them to attain success in many ways. And so there's a commentary on the struggles of black people in this country versus the privilege that white people often have in this country. So I can see that. Like, if you want to be the biggest, go white. Okay, that's a charitable interpretation of that statement. But the problem is, in the field of work that Thug is in, it's actually privileged for him to be black. The biggest hip hop artists tend to be black outside of Eminem. And Young Thug himself is a very successful artist. And so there actually isn't any need to go white at all. As a matter of fact, going white in hip hop might be seen as a negative, especially if you want to impress all the street dudes, which is what Thug has often viewed himself as, a real street representative of that culture. And so it's kind of confusing to me that Young Thug spent all this time trying to represent the streets, talking about Gunna being a rat, and now it seems like, well, are you serious? You want to be a white man? Is that the way you go big? Is that what the streets is talking? Is that hip hop? Going white? Because all the hip hop told me Drake wasn't real and wasn't a real hip hop artist because he's white. That's all I heard for the last year. And so I think that this actually hurts him, because in his genre of music, actually being black, probably the darker you are, the more hood you are from New York, that probably is the key to being the most successful. Again, obviously there's been successful white rappers, but I don't really understand that statement, and I'm not really buying it. And it seems contradictory to where Thug has come from. But then again, wearing a dress is not the hood thing to do either, and he wore a dress. So maybe Young Thug is kind of being consistent here. And then he posts on social media, "My New Friends," and that's all the features on his album, reimagines as white people. And so I've been thinking about this, and I personally feel that this is a little bit deeper than what Thug has been admitting on social media. I think that Young Thug is just not comfortable in his own skin. I think that years of now having to have battled that Rico, probably some of the actions that led up to that, maybe there's a bit of a guilty conscience of where he came from, feeling very disappointed probably in his friends who all snitched on him, turned on him, hurt him. Gunna and others, YSL took the plea. And I think Young Thug is looking at where he's been, where he's come from, the abandonment that he's feeling. And I think Thug thinks, man, I wish I was a white man. I wish I didn't come from this. I wish that I didn't come from the streets, the hood, any of this gang stuff. And he's going to still claim it because it's a part of him. But I genuinely think he's disappointed in what he has become in some respects. And even the snitching allegations, who knows if, maybe he really doesn't believe he's a rat, but maybe he knows to himself, man, maybe I did some things that that were white, because white people are known to be the ones who collaborate with the police, right? Maybe I did say a little bit too much, who knows? But I'm taking this to mean that Young Thug isn't comfortable in his own skin. And I think that's further solidified by the track in which he says, "I'm calling all my ops the hard ER." In other words, all of this gang stuff that we're doing, it's the hard ER. And I've often interpreted the hard ER as a representation of a black person who is super ghetto, low IQ, what white people think when they call us the hard ER, right? Like uncivilized savage. And I think that Thug is using it in that way. Like he's trying to say, look, we're all a bunch of uncivilized savages for this street nonsense that we're engaging in. And it's an insult, but I think it's an insult to him too. I think Thug doesn't really feel comfortable with all of that. I think he's disappointed with the streets, disappointed from where he came from. And I think, again, how deep this goes, I don't know. But I honestly feel like Thug wants to reinvent himself to be a white man, or there's some deep desire that he came from a white background that doesn't match all of the street stuff that he's been in. Now, tell me if y'all agree. Tell me if y'all disagree. I mean, you could add a even more nefarious interpretation to it and say Thug's taking on white supremacy. I don't know if I'm gonna do that, because I really do believe that, again, Thug just likes to be provocative at times. But this idea that whiteness is right, like go big if you're white, and all you thugs in the street are a bunch of hard ERs. Maybe he has taken in some white supremacy. Again, I'm the furthest from Mr. Woke. I promise you I am. But I think that this is communicating that Young Thug isn't comfortable in his black skin, his community, where he came from. So get in the comment box, debate me. If you disagree, let me know your thoughts. If you like the video, please like the video and subscribe. This has been Providence. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'll see you guys in the next video.